Good day, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Access Granted, the official podcast of ZKTeco South Africa. Today, I've got the absolute pleasure to have Mr. Kyri from Regal Security with us. He's the Chief Operating Officer. Welcome. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Hendrik.
No, definitely. We've been a few years down the road since we first met. Obviously, we meet quite often these days. But it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Let's start at the beginning. From your human start, where do we get?
Long story, eh?
Yes.
A good 58 years old, I think it is.
Okay.
Born and bred in the Free State, a little town called Kroonstad, sort of halfway between Johannesburg and Bloemfontein.
You still a cheetah?
I'm still a cheetah. I think I'm the only one in Joburg who's still a cheetah.
No, I'm also a cheetah.
But I'm a cheetah, so I hear the guys talk about the sharks and the bulls
yes.
And the lions. I'm just a cheetah.
That's fine.
Born and bred in the Free State, first generation immigrant stock. My descent is from a little Mediterranean island of Cyprus in the Mediterranean.
Cyprus.
Yeah,
Okay.
Cyprus. Both my parents immigrated from there. My dad came first, and a couple of years later, my mom came out.
Yeah.
Born and bred there. From an early age, my dad was a shopkeeper, so from an early age I spent most of my time behind the shop counter.
Okay.
And I proudly say I think I graduated with a BSc by the age of 10 or 15.
Yes.
I think a tough way to grow up, but a rewarding way to grow up. Taught me a lot about people, about business, about how business works.
Yes, of course.
I remember as a kid, always going with my dad to the market, and seeing people bid on produce.
Yes.
And pack shelves, serve customers. So you learn the basics of business from a young age.
Is that is in Kroonstad?
In Kroonstad.
Okay.
As we grew up, I think the town sort of started dying out, and my parents decided to move to a bigger place.
Yeah.
So we moved up to Johannesburg, settled in Bedford View, finished my schooling at Sandringham High.
Okay.
Started in Standard 8, I think it was. I was a class of 84, if I remember. And then went off to Wits to go do a BCom. Did my BCom at Wits. It was always the plan to become a CA.
Yes.
So it was do a BCom, go do articles, do the honours, write the board and pass all those things, which I'm glad as I successfully did.
Yes.
Finished up at Wits, went and did articles at, back in the day, I think there was maybe 8 of the big firms, it became the big 3, the big 5, whatever it was in those days. But I did articles at a sort of medium-sized firm called what was then Fisher Hoffman Stride.
Yes.
A lovely firm that had a reputation for dealing with entrepreneurs. A lot of people were entrepreneurs that we dealt with.
Yes.
And I think I was lucky in those days, Hendrik. A lot of people hated their articles, but I loved my articles.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I went in there with the approach of, do whatever I can, learn as much as I can. If I make a mistake, it's on the partner's head, not on mine.
No, of course, yes.
But I was lucky. I had fantastic mentors there. I learned a lot of business.
Where do you think your love for economics come? Your for numbers?
I think it was my upbringing, because I
being
grew
in
up
the
in
shop
that
and always being involved.
Always involved in the trading, the buying, the selling,
yes,
marking up. So you get to know, how those things work. And I think that's where it came from. So it was a natural fit for me.
Yes.
From there, it was sort of early 90s. I think South Africa was going through the changes it was going through.
Yes.
I don't remember the exact number, but I have about 35 article clerks. There were sort of three directions people went. The vast majority of the guys immigrated to Australia and the States and that time.
Already that time.
Yes, it was big in those days. The other crowd would have gone down the merchant banking route and go, join the banks and the likes. And then within Fisher Hoffman, there was a small company that grew, a company called Games Africa, that was raising funds on a compensation basis prior to the launch of the National Lottery.
Oh, okay, yes.
And people generally went in one of those 3 directions. And as fate would have it, one of my early managers at Fisher Hoffman was instrumental in starting up this company, and it was always Kyri, let's go do this thing together.
Yes.
And I said, well, you qualified, you finish. I can't. I got to finish my studies first get my qualification. And we're sort of like left hanging, and the company sort of took off and started doing stuff. And then a couple of years later, I finished up at Fisher Hoffman and went and joined Games Africa.
Yeah.
Started there as a project manager, became a financial manager, and became a director ultimately.
Was those the guys behind the
Exactly.
Ituba group?
We used to do all of that.
Okay.
A phenomenal business concept.
Yes.
We had government's unofficial consent to operate,
Of course,
although
yeah.
gambling was illegal in those
That's
days.
correct, yeah.
But we were pioneers in the day of scratch cards and building
Yes.
a foundation for the National Lottery,
Yeah.
which we ultimately applied and bid for. At the time, we were listed, or we did a reverse listing at the time, and it was very interesting times.
Yes.
We had done, and this is the basis of of the experience that I was fortunate enough to have got.
Definitely,
We did dual auditors, remuneration committees, empowerment,
Okay.
and internal BEE within the organisation. It was fun, and it wasn't just tokenism; it was a real. We had proper people,
Yes.
and. One of the goals at that stage was to become a director of a listed company by the age of 30.
Yes.
I always proudly say I made it by 3 months. So it was nice to tick that
is
box.
nice. Yes.
But on that high came the negative as well when the bid for the lottery came out, and unfortunately we lost.
Yep.
And then I had the dubious task of shutting down the company.
Yeah. Because it's got that one goal.
That was our our mandate. And,
Yes.
so got that experience as well in terms of shutting down, retrenching people. And we did some crazy things, inviting every employment agency in town to come and sit with our people, helping our staff write
And
CVs.
I mean, that is something that is very honorable to do. There will be some companies that will just say, sorry.
We went through that process. As part of that, Hendrik, there was we had our own internal marketing division, and out of there grew a small advertising agency that ultimately grew to become key to what was the agency that put together the ABSA conglomerate, which merged, I think it was Standard, Trust Bank, Volkskas, United,
correct, yes.
and there was Allied, and got involved there. And again, had the honor of working with a guy by the name of Yoshi Sorch, who's now unfortunately late, but a great marketer and a great, creative person. And a lesson that I often quote is, I was the financial guy in those days.
Yep.
And when because we had dealings, and it was part of the group, and the one side had closed, so come and join us on the other side. And I said, well, I'll be fighting with Yossi all day long.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting and chatting to him, and he said to me, Kyri, you and I are going to fight. I said, we're going to fight all day. He said, but you need to learn. I said, learn what?
Yes.
And he said to me, take this piece of paper, and he says, feel it,
Okay.
That costs 25 Rand.
Yeah.
Feel this one. This costs 20 cents. That's the one you want. That's the one I want.
Yeah.
And I quickly learned the lesson between quality and the power of a brand.
Of course, yes.
Throughout those periods, I've always been from a young age. I've been a petrol head. Love motor cars.
Yes. And your first car was?
A GTI.
A GTI? Alpha?
No, Golf GTI.
Sorry.
Golf GTI.
Okay.
I'd been saving from the time I was staying at 7.
Oh my word.
I could take the whole afternoon telling you what I conjured up to find the funds to buy the car.
Yes.
But I'd been at it. I remember finishing school, everyone went off and did their VAC thing. Kyri went off to work. I was going to buy a car. And everyone was laughing at me. I said, I'm buying a car.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to buy a GTI. So I had that drive at that.
Yes, of course.
And throughout those stages, I always wanted to get into the motor industry, but kept applying, but we could never get into it, and eventually I landed up in some recruiter's office in the middle of Sandton. And I said, what's wrong with my CV?
Yes.
And he says, the guys won't touch you. I
Okay.
said, why? He says, you don't come from within.
Oh, okay.
But they only take people who've come through the ranks.
Yes.
You want to come in at the top. So unless you're prepared to go all the way down to the bottom,
Yeah.
you ain't going to get a job. I sort of left the motor industry and left it, and went overseas for a stint and traveled through Europe, and then lying on a beach somewhere in Greece, I think it was. I thought to myself, what do I need in my CV? And I said, I need a multinational manufacturing. That's what I needed. I came back and found a job in manufacturing in a multinational with a cosmetics crowd, which I absolutely hated. It was just too bureaucratic for me, and I just couldn't fit. And I said, no.
But you're there for the experience.
I was there for the experience. Then from there, I said, this is not for me. I was helping out a mate of mine in a property development organization. Lovely business as well, but I just found that those cycles were too long for me.
It's too long, yeah.
And then on one fine day, I got a phone call saying, phone this guy, you won't be sorry.
Okay.
And I never phoned the guy. And a week later, this mutual friend phoned me and says, Kyri, I told you to phone this guy. Why haven't you phoned him? I said, what am I going to phone him for?
Yes.
They won't touch me. It was in the motor industry.
You were still in that phase, yes.
Yeah, and decided to phone the guy. I went and saw him with attitude. And he also had attitude. And we sort of hit it off. A guy by the name of Raymond Levine, who got me into the motor industry. I joined Kia Motors as the FD, and I was in the group, what is today Motors.
That's correct, yes.
I headed up various elements in that business. First as FD, as I said, of Kia Motors. Then in 2008, I think it was, when the market turned, the guy sort of consolidated all the back office, and very much in a finance role. And I was offered this role of running a shared service division, looking after the majority of the importers in the group. And I wasn't keen on the role, but again, the advantage of having great mentors and leaders guiding you, saying to me, Kyri, sometimes in life, if you want to do this, you need to do that. Take a sideways move to go up. And before you'd be working with one CEO, now you're working with 7 CEOs every day. It's a lovely way to learn. And I went and did that. And a couple of years later, what grew out of there was an opportunity to run an emerging brand in South Africa, which was Tata Motors.
That's correct, yes. I can remember that was like it was the most cost-effective car.
Yes.
I think it was the Indica or something.
Yeah, it's exactly it.
And that was a very big talk in Ireland, because that is all that we could afford when we started.
Exactly.
So,
as a brand, a phenomenal brand that was phenomenal on the subcontinent. I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to India quite a few times and get to know the people and the culture and what they've done. And the business got to a crossroads where, as the CEO, I was keen to push in another direction.
Yes.
The board was conflicted, and I said, guys, either do it or don't do it.
Yeah.
But I'm not here just to be a passenger along for the ride. I want to drive it forward.
Yes.
And related to that was also, that industry runs from month to month. You either make a sales number and you put units on the board. So the pressure was relentless. I then said, guys, you know what, I'm out of here. I took time off and I said, you know what, let me go and do what's important.
Yes.
So walked away from everything.
Yeah.
On very good terms with the guys, and left and said, let me see what I'm going to do.
You didn't go to another beach and lay in and
I did, but this time I went with the family. I took my family with me, and I remember saying to my daughter, Dad's not working. So she said to me, are you going to be one of those dads now? She was quite worried. I said, don't worry, we're going to go on holiday and we'll do what we got to do.
Exactly, yeah.
And Hendrik, I think, a good stage to take a step back and have a look at yourself and see where you're going, because
of course,
my upbringing and my career and my education was just drive, and you say, what's important?
Exactly, yeah.
Taking your mom for breakfast in the middle of the week is, was going to watch my daughter play a netball match during the middle of the week.
It makes a very big difference.
It was what was important.
Yes.
And again, just by pure fluke, I got a phone call saying, Kyri, Regal. I said, who? Regal? What do they do, Oh, they're a security company. I said, I've seen a sign somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, they're looking for somebody. Maybe goes, I said, well, this is not for me, but whatever.
It's not in your direction at all.
Let me go and see. And they ended up going to have a chat with the HR person, and then said to me, I'd like you to meet Mr. Raymond Katz, who's the CEO and the owner of the business.
Yeah.
And said, yeah, fine. I wasn't expecting anything. I thought I wasn't ready for anything.
You weren't ready for nothing.
I was still in the most, this process of just,
figuring out
my next move. What I had figured out, Hendrik, was that, I wasn't into the big corporate stuff. I found it very choking and false. I was always looking for a bit of an entrepreneurial friend, even though my time at what was Imperial in those days under AMH was, it was very much an entrepreneurial rated business approach, so
it kept you busy for a while. Yes.
Yeah. And then had a couple of meetings with Raymond, and one thing led to the next, and before I knew it, I was at Regal.
Yes.
Knew nothing about security.
Yep.
Knew nothing about the security industry, but was again, I think, blessed and honored to being mentored by what I believe is one of the ultimate leaders in the industry, a great visionary in terms of where the industry goes, and
definitely allowed
me the opportunity to just learn from him. and gave me the reins to run the business, you know, and yeah, something I'm really proud of and honored to be doing.
Yes.
And enjoy doing, you know. So yeah, that's where we are.
I think the nice thing, and I think this is what this podcast is all about, to see that journey, that people, you don't just end up sometimes just directly into security.
Yeah.
Some people's passion starts somewhere else, and you get all of your experience and your work ethic from other experience that you had. And that's specifically what I want to show in this podcast is the journey that people goes through before they get into security. Some people will jump directly in, but in your instance, I mean, it was a big journey before you got into this. So my next question to you will be, do you see any similarities in the operation side or anything that you do daily that you did in the motor loader side?
Most definitely, Hendrik. You know, you touch on people just going to security.
Yes.
You know, it's not a field I think I would have gravitated to naturally. You know,
exactly.
I never had that profile from where I came.
Yes.
But I think you know, people often ask me, how do you land up in security? You know, you know, and I'm going, guys, the business principles are exactly the same. You know,
business stays business.
Business stays business at the very top level. But when you break it down, you know, the world I'd come from was a distribution business.
Yes.
You know, so you bring a product in, you know, be it a motor car, be it a camera, be it a door contact, whatever it might be, it's a product.
It's a product.
It comes in, you need to distribute it, you know, give it to a customer.
Yes.
Keep the customer happy, handle his technical query on it, handle the repair.
Yes.
You know, manage stock levels, and ultimately, you know, keeping a customer happy. So from that point of view, although it sounds strange and way off, to me it was a very natural fit. You know, not many people see this. You know, so you know, yes, I struggled initially with, you know, what, where, and how.
No,
of
what, course,
but, you know, but you pick that up very quickly. Yes. So I think there are great synergies between the two industries that, you know, that I've come from. You know, from a business process point of view, and
definitely,
and you know, I mean, it sounds slightly arrogant, but I think that's what makes it well suited for me.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's all about business. If you know business, like I always said, when I started with ZK, I knew how to get money in the bank. I was a salesperson. I could sell a product. It doesn't matter which product it is. It's a principle.
Yeah,
it is. You need to. You live into it.
You know, and also having sort of followed the CA route before, you know, doing articles, I sort of touched on it earlier, you know, I saw a lot of businesses.
Exactly.
You know, across the spectrum, big multinational listed to one-man band, you know, little petrol station and that type of thing. And you get to learn about business. And that was always the thing that intrigued me is, you know, having an afternoon cup of coffee with the owner of the business and tell me how you started this business. You know, you were young and upstart, and you saw the guy's Porsche, and you've seen his portfolio, and you're going, how do I get there? How do you do it? You know, so and those principles are the same throughout. And I think so. At the end of the day, yes, every business and every industry has its own quirks and, idiosyncrasies, but at the end of the day, for me, it's exactly the same, and that's what I believe.
If we can go back, or not go back, but I mean, if we go into the distribution market now, you have had now how many years experience?
Just under 9.
It's almost 9.
9 years, yeah.
And I mean, if you look at it now, what would you say? Because there's a lot of people asking me. I mean, we are the manufacturers of a product, and a lot of people in the market will always ask us, why can we not buy directly from you? What is the value why do I need to go down the street to go to a distributor? If you can think about the advantages and that type of thing, what would you say is the biggest advantage to having a distribution channel?
I think the existence of a distribution channel and the future of the distribution channel, I think, is changing. I mean, and hence, you know, the question that people are asking you.
Yes.
I think a lot of manufacturers are going direct to market.
Yes.
The difference is that, you know, there are certain levels of costs and management skill that are missing when you go direct.
Yes.
A distributor, I think, wherever you are in the world, has a better local knowledge, will have a closer relationship with clients,
of course,
and is able to answer those questions more directly. You know, so I think the on the ground technical support, knowledge of the business, knowledge of the industry will always have a role for, for the distributor. So Yes, that the not only the security industry, but I think all industries are going through a element of disruption.
Yes.
And more manufacturers want to own that whole vertical chain, from and own the customer.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. I mean, I remember in the motor industry, who's the customer? So we can
Exactly.
market him, but he's my customer. We always had those arguments, and we have the same arguments today.
I think every market has got the same argument.
So I do think it's a question of how you differentiate and how you can add more localized and specific knowledge and value to the client.
Exactly.
Is I think where the answer lies.
I think also the nice thing about specifically like Regal having a lot of branches, having the footprint where people around the corner can go to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something a manufacturer can always do. It's like anything like Sony, all of them, they are using master distributors in all the countries. And then, yes, you can go and buy from Macro and you can go buy from this company, but you cannot walk into Sony and go and buy a TV there. Yeah. It is not, yes, sometimes they'll have retail shops and stuff, but I think the footprint of what we have in Regal, I think that is a very big advantage.
It is an advantage. There's also a lot of work behind it.
Of course.
But I think the footprint, having 30 plus stores across the country, allows you to be in touch with your customers, having staff that are trained, and having a wide selection of brands that we represent.
Yes.
Gives you that flexibility. It also creates problems sometimes that you might not have the full focus of where it should be.
Of course, yes.
But
to draw the line, I mean, where do you, if you're a security distributor, you must have the full basket.
Correct.
And I mean, us as manufacturers also understands that. It's not, you cannot just keep one brand. You have to diversify. You have to do something else. I do think that obviously from our side, having distribution channel is probably the only way of doing very good business.
Look, it allows you, it also allows a manufacturer to get representation overnight.
Yes.
You come into let's say you're coming into the country cold and you want to go start the whole thing. The easiest way is to go to somebody like Regal who's got a footprint.
Of course, yeah.
And say, you'll get representation across the country quite quickly. And adoption becomes easier.
Exactly.
But it'll change over time, I do believe. I think a lot of entrants, online stores, business online stores, Amazon Business, Alibaba, those type of things.
Exactly, yeah.
Are having an influence.
Yeah.
But there's a trade-off. And it's a question of finding that sweet spot and playing in that sweet spot.
It's like any business, you have to tweak. You have to move this way, that way. I mean, all of my employees know how many times I have to change during the year. Not the main direction, but you have to change your path to get to that main direction, and it has to happen.
I think in any business and any industry today, Hendrik, if you're not nimble, I think you'll become extinct. Yes. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, as business people or heads of organization, we face those challenges.
I think the other thing that I want to focus on is in a small market like ours, you're sitting with the fact of, can people still be distributor loyal? Because you see a lot of, now that everybody's on LinkedIn, everybody's on Facebook, whatever, you'll see installers, one day they will be at this distributor, that. But I think that is part of being in a smaller market than what we have.
I think it's part of being a smaller market, and there is the advantage of being in a competitive market.
Yes.
I think competition is good for anybody at any point in time.
Definitely, yeah.
Any monopoly, I don't think, is a good thing from a business perspective.
Yeah.
But the distributor loyalty, I think, is there again. I think it's transforming in front of our very eyes. I think the emergence of online retailers who are attacking that market.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I do believe that there is space for a distributor under a different guise over time. What exactly it looks like, don't ask me, because I don't know.
Yes.
If I knew, I would have implemented yesterday. But I think it's evolving.
Yeah.
I think it's evolving, and I think the role of the distributor will change. If it's a question of just price matching and price competing,
that kills a market.
We have an internal thing in our building where we talk the race to the bottom.
Yeah.
And I
the race to zero.
Yeah, I keep telling the guys, I'm not in the race to the bottom. A former colleague, in fact, coined the phrase, and it's become quite a colloquial term now. Often the guys come with the deal. I'm going, guys, I'm not interested in this race. No. I don't want this business, because let someone else go make money at 2%.
That is business that they need to understand is you cannot be everything for everybody.
Correct.
The first thing is the person needs to have money to do business with him. Yeah. If he doesn't have the money to fit with your product, then he's not your customer. Yeah. You have to move on. Sometimes, yes, you try to fight for some of them, but you cannot be everything for everybody.
And I think as well, in our industry, I mean, I think loyalties do sway at times based on product range, of stock availability,
Of course.
Level of training, and ultimately this, Hendrik, the relationship that you have with your supplier,
Of course.
I think is key. And sometimes we lose sight of that, but that's what it's about.
Yeah. The other thing as well, from our side, we also see a very big swing in brand loyalty. Brand loyalty these days, I think, is becoming a bit more in a way that where people, they like to stay now with one brand, making their decision between what they get from other brands. Yes, sometimes the end user will maybe ask for something else, but we see a big swing in the market where the guys will say, well, I like this brand, I've tried everything, but moving towards a specific brand at the moment.
Yeah, I think brand loyalty, it's a function of, I think, where you're looking at it from, Hendrik. If you're looking at it from a consumer point of view, I think the old days of, my father bought a VW, I'll buy a VW, and my children will buy it.
Yeah, we were one of those families.
I think those days are gone. I think the younger generation, the effect of social media and influencing, and I think today it's maybe more about, does this brand represent me?
Yeah.
As opposed to this is the brand that I want. There's also a lot of new entrants across that, across industry.
Yes.
Where value propositions change. The old prestigious brand can no longer justify its position because for whatever reason. I think there's a change. If you bring it down a level, and you say, well, where does it fit in the security industry?
Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting topic because I do believe it's different to the traditional emotional purchase of the end user. I do believe that installers and system integrators influence that loyalty a lot more to the end user.
Yes.
So I think in our industry, the installer and the system integrator is the one who's maybe more loyal to a brand based on his level of technical skill, knowledge of the product, versus the end user. So he'll go to say to Mrs. Jones that this is the alarm system you need to put in, or that's the access control reader you need to put in. The guy wouldn't know the difference. The
end user only wants to.
So I think there's a higher level of loyalty there, and I think if you dig a bit deeper, and you look at the various aspects within our industry, I think there's again a deeper level of loyalty within various categories of the equipment supply between CCTV and intrusion system or access control system. I think a function of whether you've bought into the ecosystem of what a ZK brings. If the guy's bought into that, scalability becomes an element that needs to be considered. You can't not just throw out and bring something else in. So I think those things are key. So there is an element of loyalty there, but I think it's it's no longer an emotional thing. It's based on technical know-how and fit, and of course budget.
Yes, budget always plays a big. If the guy doesn't have money, he cannot buy it.
Exactly.
The other thing that I want to have a look at is, do you guys see from the distributor side that sometimes the end user are starting to make a play of actually knowing what he wants with the information and stuff that is out there, or like you said, is it still installer driven?
I think there is a swing towards that, and that's not just security. I think it's it's where the internet has taken us, where the likes of Google and AI has taken us.
Yes.
So those people that have an interest and have got the time will go and do a bit of reading. I think as a professional, what for me defines a professional is knowing what you don't know.
Yes.
And the problem with that type of thing, and with due respect to all the people that do that, is you might not always know what you don't know.
That's the problem.
And but there is, I think, an upskilling of knowledge that is affecting people with that type of thing. So definitely, there are people saying, I would like this solution or I'd like that solution because they've seen a TikTok clip or they've seen a
because there's a lot more that the people can view these days.
So the days of that secrecy that that only certain people knew, I think that's been decimated quite fast. And based on that, I think it's becoming more open. The sharing of information,
of course,
is now, more open and more transparent. So, and I think the sooner people start playing in that realm, the easier for all.
It is just very strange for me in a very competitive market like what we have at the moment, and specifically with South Africa. Yes, there's a lot of potential and all of it, but I don't see people doing the correct marketing to the end users.
Yeah.
I think even us, we were dabbling just directly into having a device going to an installer, and that is what I want to show on social media, that type of thing. We've changed over the past 2 years or so to see what type of outcomes we get when we do like advertising on Facebook and that type of thing directly to an end user, then steering them to the correct installer or whatever they want to do. Because from our side, we need to stay as neutral as possible.
Sure.
So, but we've seen that when the end user talks to us directly, they get a total different type of feeling of, and it also makes a very big difference if you have got a presence in South Africa. And I think you touched on it, the Alibabas and all of that. Yes, it's very easy these days to buy something from overseas, but who's going to service? Who's going to keep it in stock if you need another one? That type of thing.
Yeah, that type of thing. People often, it's about price and they go and they buy, but the happiness of the cheap price is long forgotten with the bitterness of the of the warranty claim or the support claim.
Yep.
And unfortunately, a lot of people, and again, maybe just where the economy is and where people's budgets are, and the desire to want more. But I do think that people should consider those things very, very carefully.
Of course, yes.
What's the Afrikaans saying? I think goedkoop is duurkoop.
That's right, yeah.
I'm not saying it's always the case.
No.
But I do think there's a level we need to position
but I
ourselves
think that people have got enough information to do their homework.
And people don't see the other side, So you're buying like for like, but why are you 10 Rand more expensive?
Exactly.
Well, because I have a technical guy who's there to support you.
Yeah. Just in case you need him.
Yes, just in case you need him, he's there. You've got the safety belt and the safety net, and that's what it's about. I think.
And I think that's probably one of the other big advantages of also having the distribution channel, where if the installer has got an issue on site, then at least you've got that distributor as well to fall back on, and the ecosystem between them is actually quite strong.
Yeah, and that ecosystem has to be strong, Henrik.
Yes.
I think in any business, I think you sometimes find there's a kink in that process, and it creates the ructions that sometimes happen.
Always.
But if that channel is managed and is maintained strong, and you follow those protocols, and without becoming bureaucratic, I think you have a recipe for success.
I think at the end of the day, if the end user stays happy, then the market does well.
Yeah.
But if the end user does get a type of feeling that this market is a bit dodgy, that type of thing, then they will start trying to dabble in trying to get things directly. But if that ecosystem between, let's say, the installer, the distributor, and the manufacturer, like we have, is in place, then you can see the end users are a bit easier.
If you take an organization like Regal, we've been around for, I think next year we're celebrating our 45th year in various forms. You're not a fly-by-night. We're here. We're not going to run away. And I'm not saying everybody does.
No.
But that you are here. There's an element of comfort.
Yes.
And it might be unspoken comfort that's available. You've got 30 stores across the country. You have a team of people that and I'm going back a bit. I'm really honoured to manage.
Exactly.
That I've got, I don't know. I actually need to go do the calculation of how many years of combined experience we have in the building. In security businesses. So I think that is key. To ensuring that type of thing.
One thing from my side that it's probably very challenging to run a distribution type of company, because you have got a lot of different levels. You guys have got the branches, you've got BDMs that you have to work with that goes out to clients, and corporates and all of that. That is probably a very challenging thing to run a distribution.
It is, but I think we do it naturally. Without sounding funny, I think we do it naturally.
It's been going for 45 years, so
I think it's what we know how to do.
Yeah.
I think it's what we do well. And being able to talk at the right level to the right people at all levels. Because our client base varies from the most simplistic guy who operates at the back of his garage to multinational big corporates. we have that full spectrum, and of course your delivery and your solution has to be packaged differently, but with an underlying basic ethos of ethical business.
Yeah.
And that's what the business has been built on, doing ethical business. If the solution ain't right, it ain't right,
Of
and we
course.
walk away.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't do that, but we certainly would walk away from a deal that we don't like.
We've done it together as well.
Yes,
numerous times.
We've put solutions on the table that don't work, and so there's your money back. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Let me try that.
It happened. I mean, that is the beast of our market, and sometimes the expectations from the end user is this is what it can do, and this is what I want, and this is what it can do, and then there's some. And you get some of the sites whereby you have to say sorry, and it
not
happens.
For me.
It happens. There's not much
I think
you can
that's
do
fundamentally
about it.
important, Hendrik.
Yeah, and I think it also puts that humanity back into our companies.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't get that from other industries. I mean, coming from the automotive, how many people can just take his car back to you cannot just take your car back and say, sorry, I'm not happy with it. You had to do your homework before, and I wish our market will start doing that.
Sure.
But again, I think it's going on about if the brands are doing enough to actually educate the end users, which we have got a very big push on this year, and then next year we're going to go big onto the showing the people what is out there, showing the people what can be done, and then they can do their homework in the back end and go from there.
Yeah, I think the training leg is again, something that also resonates strong with Regal. I think everybody knows that Regal is very big on training.
Yep.
And it's on a number of levels. Is number one, I pay back to our society, our people, our country. Educate, uplift people for all the reasons of why they might not be where they should be. I think that's fundamentally important, but also when the long-term benefit to an installer, a young entrepreneur or an old entrepreneur, to go to the next level. Internally we have this thing, and it's actually in fact gone externally now. We have a company value that says going out of our way to make our customers succeed. And that's how the business was built.
Yeah.
And you're quite right when you say, over time, often people lose sight of those things, and even myself steering this ship, sometimes you go, hey, I'm off course here, let's get it back. That's what we're about. Because you get sucked into the herd effect, when everyone's going this way.
Yes.
And you're going, that's where I should be going, and I think you need to be true to your values and be true to yourselves and do it on that basis.
You were talking about, I normally ask this question at the end of the podcast, but you were touching on the upliftment of people and getting new people into this market. Do you think we, as a market, is doing enough to show the young people that we are an attractive market to get into?
I don't think you can ever do enough, Hendrik. And I can't speak for what the market is doing because I don't know.
Of course, yeah.
But what I could say to you is that Regal has a very strong drive on it. Developing people locally, our staff at various levels, bringing upon learnerships. It's something that we do, and it's not a secret. It's known in the market that that we go through this process.
Yes.
The sad part is that you invest in people and they leave you.
No, of course,
and that's one of the challenges I keep posing to my team. Why can't we keep this guy stimulated enough? And he goes off, and the sad part is that some of them do come back. Well, that's the good part. Or
that is a good part, yes.
But and they might not always succeed in security. But I think just from a humanitarian point of view, you feel that I've done something positive for this individual.
Of course, yes.
And then thereafter it's in their hands.
I mean, we are talking about the journeys and your journey and whatever. I mean, it might be some of the people that comes into the market and this is their first experience.
Quite correct. So we've had a lot of those. We've had a lot of those.
And I mean, a lot of people don't think this will be an attractive market, and then they go and do something else, which they are more. I mean, that's their personal point of view. And their journey, and it's nothing sometimes to do with us. And I think we try to take it too personal sometimes when somebody leaves the company, or even when a client leaves the company. We've seen it a lot now in COVID time, or just after COVID time, and with load shedding, where a lot of our security guys got big into the solar installations. They go for the training there, go there and they get hurt there. They come back, It happens every day.
Happens, it does.
Yeah. Tell me your feeling about AI in security. Is there some use cases that you guys know about that you can really talk
AI,
into
I
that?
think, to answer the question more broadly on the onset, I think AI is the next phase, Hendrik. I think there's no denying that. I don't know how much of it is hype and how much will actually hit the ground ultimately.
Yep.
But that it's here to stay, it's here to stay. I picked up a piece a while ago, that says to me, AI can do a lot of things, but it can't brush your teeth in the morning.
Yes, not yet.
Not yet. Well,
Yes.
I don't see how it's going to do it.
No.
But, and I do believe that it has a role to play. In security, yes, I think there'll be a transformation, very much like, when before you had a guard, then you put a camera in place, then you
Yes.
had a high definition camera, then you had,
So there must be a new phase.
motion. Yeah, I think it's the next phase in
Okay.
security.
Yeah.
I think AI will bring a lot of new aspects to it. It'll cut down on the management process of it.
Yep.
I don't believe it necessarily means a loss of jobs. I do
Yes.
believe it will mean a change of jobs, and that's a comment that I have for AI as a general.
Yeah.
A lot of people, oh, you won't have this job. I don't think that. I think a lot of jobs will change, profiles will change.
Yeah.
But in security, I think the AI is able to process
Yes.
a lot more events at any point in time, and it will be able to differentiate, false positives versus real positives. I think that's what's important. So it will have a role. I think it will change a lot of what we do. The monitoring will change. It will be more predictive.
Yes.
Fewer false alarms, that type of thing. So yes, and it's interesting to see it watch and play out as we're there, because I think it's maybe I'm a bit behind the curve, but I think it's in its infancy.
No, definitely. Yes.
But it will pick up momentum very quickly, and we'll get to a point. And where my mind goes is, what comes after AI? You know what I mean? Back in the day we had Encyclopedia Britannica and World Book,
Yes.
and then we had Google all of a sudden. Now
Yeah.
it's AI. I think it's just that constant evolution. So it will take us to a different place. There's no question.
A bit of a curveball to you. AI in operations. That's probably a much better use case, eh? Or
But I think
not really yet.
no, the same thing, Hendrik. I think it'll give you the same result. It's a question of modifying it. I've personally started dabbling a bit here and there
Of
with
course,
it.
yeah,
Just
we all do.
And again, I think I'm way behind the curve. But it's not always right.
Definitely not.
It does have input versus output. So what you put in is what you get out.
Yes.
But I think that, from an operational point of view, there are synergies, and it will highlight areas for you that you maybe not get there.
Yeah.
It's able to crunch data a lot quicker than what
Of course, yes.
you can have a human doing it. But once you've got it, you still need to interpret that data and take it from there. I think that's where the challenge lies, and I think a lot of people are making that mistake. And that
Yes.
the AI said, and they're writing reports for you and that type of thing. I mean, is it really right?
Yeah.
Because when you start interrogating, you pick up the cracks.
Yeah.
And I'm not anti. I think it is
No,
the way to
of
go.
course.
I just think it's the evolution of business. I really do,
Yeah.
and society.
I think obviously with all the innovation stuff, especially with security that's happening so fast, we'll probably see a lot of new use cases out of the market coming. We are working on a few, but I mean, we cannot be the only company. Everybody's working on it, but I mean, to see it now today, it's not that prevalent yet, but I think probably in the next 2 to 3 years, it's coming, right?
It's coming.
One thing that is probably going to change the market faster is cloud solutions, going to the cloud, security to the cloud, access to the cloud, that type of thing. Have you guys seen some movement there?
We have seen some movement there. I think it's an interesting question.
Yes.
Because for me, it's a question of fit. Just thinking through it, what is the analogy I could give you? That you go to the cloud, you go to the cloud. If the cloud is your ESCOM, your power provider,
Yeah.
it works when it works phenomenally well.
Yeah.
But when that goes down, you need your generator. So that's hosting on your local server, your local PC. So I think those are important. But the movement to the cloud and cloud solutions are definitely something that's there. The emergence of software as a service is becoming more and more prevalent. I think those trends are coming, and a lot of people see it as a threat or something else. I just think it's the next layer of evolution, we'll absorb it
Yeah.
and do what we need to do with it. So yes, it's definitely there. The issue with the cloud computing is, at what level do you position it? A little mom and pop shop corner. Does he have the infrastructure? Does he have the
Exactly.
connectivity to connect to the crowd? If you take South Africa, and you look at our national spread of our population,
Yes.
Can you put a cloud-based solution in the middle of Mlazi? I'm
Yep.
not sure you can.
Exactly.
But then you house it on a local server and whatever you do. So it has those.
There will be a different.
There are the levels, but I do think it takes it up. You have the advantages of cloud that gives you better security, easy scalability.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe who you talk to, maybe lower cost up front or more expensive cost up front.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think it's a question of doing a proper needs analysis and identifying what the needs are. But have we seen a move there? Definitely, it's
Yes.
happening. It is happening, Hendrik.
I've seen probably in our market the question that comes up the most when you talk about cloud. Obviously, it's subscription based, and a lot of people don't know subscription based in security. But if you think about it every day, I mean, we all have a Netflix account, you've got a DSTV account, you've got water and electricity that you pay every month. It's also a type of subscription that you're actually paying. So I think that the guys will get used to quite
I think
fast.
that as well. And the other thing is that you pay for what you use.
Yeah.
Ultimately, so and again, I think scalability is a big one for me.
Yes.
Because if I want more, I just get more. I don't have to go buy this whole machine.
Exactly. Yeah.
That
And coming back to the mom and pop shop,
Yes.
do they have a computer there to actually run it from?
So it's a question of just finding that balance. And I think every business, every industry, every household has their own dynamic.
Yes.
That it's moving that way, it definitely is.
Yes.
But again, I'm not anti. I just don't think that it's the right solution for everybody every time.
No, it cannot be for everybody. Yeah.
Every time.
Yes.
So I think it needs to be based on a proper needs analysis.
Some people drive Volkswagen, some people do. So it depends on you, and also what the value is that it brings to you. If there is no value, the people will still buy an on-prem type of thing. It depends on where the value is. Our last topic is one that I actually stole from our CEO from US, Manish Dalal, and he was asking the other day. In America, the market there is much different from us. Biometrics there is not as big as what it is in South Africa and all of that. And I said he was asking why is it, and the comments that came up, no, it's not reliable, it's not this and that. So then I started playing around with what is popular there is mobile credentials. But again, here in South Africa, what is that you guys see? Is mobile credentials, biometrics?
Again, Hendrik, I think it's a function of what the client's need is. The difference between the two are quite narrow. And I think maybe the ultimate solution is a hybrid of the two.
Yes.
So biometrics is what it's your fingerprint, it's your face.
Yep.
And that is really unique.
Yes.
There's no really a way of duplicating unless I can't stand in for you.
Of course.
Whereas the mobile, when I say mobile, I'm going, even you talk a card or a tag or that, those things can be swapped out wherever the case is. So I think it's a function of, the practicalities of the rollout. Biometrics is maybe more difficult to onboard because you need to enroll everybody and sit there and go through that process.
Yep.
Whereas a tag could be issued, I'll just give you the tag type thing, So there's a lot of those type of things. But I do believe that today there's space for both, and you can have the debate of which one is better, which one is quicker.
Of course, yeah. But again, it goes down to what you need it to do.
Yes, and I think it's a function of what are you trying to protect. If I was needed ultimate level security, I'd go biometric with mobile, with a card, with a code. I'll do the whole thing.
Exactly.
If I'm just doing the door to my office.
Yes.
It's
different.
A lock and key is just as good sometimes. And so I think it's a question of matching that to the needs of the client and dare I say it, the budget of the client.
Of course, yeah.
But there is a change. We run biometrics in our building. And doors open and close for you. As you approach them, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
And that's a good learning as well. We've done that in our building for people to learn, and and we see the practical benefits of it.
Yes.
Again, when the power goes out, you need the backup power,
Of course,
and if the
yes.
battery runs flat, what do you then do? So we have those type of things.
Yeah.
But I think on the whole, that they both have a role to play.
Yes.
And again, I think it's horses for courses. That's my personal view.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it was just very exciting, or not exciting, but very strange for me to think a country as advanced as US is still mobile credentials, cards, that type of thing is still very prevalent there. And again, obviously, privacy issues.
Yes, well, that's the other big one.
The perception
That's
of
the other
the
big one,
privacy
yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
I don't think we will probably run into it very soon in South Africa, because biometrics is playing a daily role in a lot of people's lives, especially for the guys that's doing the time attendance. The salary is being paid from there. And I think our demographic as well, what type of country we are, the security levels that we need to have maybe is not the same as in other countries.
You touch on why the US, is sort of behind us.
Yes.
But I think it's a function of where our societies are. It's that type of thing. And the other one, in terms of the biometrics, is the whole privacy thing that is becoming a new worldwide phenomenon. As to who has access to the data, what are they going to do with the data? Yeah. I think opens a whole new world of debate and control and what you need to do. But for basic access control, I think either work in both environments. Biometrics I think is slightly better. And that's just my view, and I'm not an expert on the field.
No, of course, yeah.
That's your world.
We try to be. Yes.
I think they both have a role to play. And if you, do you need speed? Do you need cost versus benefit? There's a lot of those things, and I feel a lot of people maybe not always consider those aspects before they make that decision. I think that's what you need to go through.
Okay. So then the last point that I always finish off is from a personal point of view. If you think about the young Kyri, 19, 20 years old, if you could tell him something now that will benefit him in his future, well, what will those wise words to all the 20-year-olds out there?
I'll answer you two ways.
Yes.
The one maybe you shouldn't record, but and that is play harder, jaw harder, have more fun.
Okay, yes.
Because it's the best time of your life.
Yeah.
On a serious note, I think that regardless of what everybody says, and I see it. People talk about, I don't know what generation Z, Y, I don't even know what they are anymore. Is that the kids of today don't want to be working, and maybe I am old school, Hendrik, but I feel that throughout my career now, we spoke about it earlier, all those successful peoples and those mentors that I looked up to, there was one underlying trait: hard work.
Yes.
So there's no such thing like a free lunch. It might look free today, but it's not. I do believe that hard work is what drives it ultimately. But hard work married to smart work, I think, is what it takes. So that's the advice I would give a youngster starting out in any industry. The security industry, I think, is a great industry. I think it has a great future. It's unfortunate in this country that it has a great future for other reasons.
Yes.
But when done correctly and done as opposed to just protecting, but guiding and monitoring and helping managing, I think has tremendous benefits to be had.
Yes.
So my advice to a youngster today is graft hard but graft smart.
Yes.
I think that's what I would be saying to them. There is no quick fix. Things happen quicker, and technology and mobile and social and influencing, all those things are all great.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, and it's not just my generation or the generation before us. I think business and people it's about humanity.
Of course.
And
yes.
if you lose that touch, I think we're doomed. But I don't think it'll get there yet. Not in my lifetime, at least.
I think on those wise words, we would stop our episode today. I want to thank you, Kyri, for your time. I know you are very busy.
Thank you very much.
Running a big company like Regal, the operations side cannot be very easy to get some time for us, but thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for the invite and for the initiative. I wish you the very best with it. I'll be following them closely, and I wish you all the very best as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.